the Giant pregame show presented by Sherwood Ford. Unfortunately, the weather is once again not the greatest today, but so I hope everyone is driving safely and everyone's going to be cozy on their couch tonight as they watch the Edmonton Oilers take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. But first, Tyler, what's going on your end?
Yeah, I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing, the foot of snow covering my car, and I'm happy I didn't have to brush it out today and make the trek down to the office. It's nice that we have the ability to do these from home. I'm very
I
lucky.
know it's very true. All right. Lots to talk about with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm super excited about tonight's game for obvious reasons, but quickly, as always, let's recap the Oilers' loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. They lost 3-1 against, I'd say, a really good Canes team. Like, I was really impressed by the Hurricanes. I think that they were constantly buzzing, and Sebastian Aho, just hats off to that kid. But Oilers' lone goal scored by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. At this point, we've been here before many times on our pregame show. 5 games in a row that the Oilers have lost. What does it come down to? Lack of creativity, injuries, goaltending? Is it a seasonal slump? Like, what can we chalk it up to and hopefully move on tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs?
It's just everything for the Oilers right now. I mean, they played bad against a couple of bad teams in LA and Seattle to kick off this losing streak. And those are 2 games you really needed to have. And then they play better against Minnesota and Boston, but they don't get bounces. They run into a couple of hot goalies and you don't come away with 2 points. And you go up against Carolina. And like you said, that is a really, really good hockey team. They're dominant on the road. They're 12-4-1 now away from their home rink. It's a team that's deep up front. They forecheck hard. They got a really good blue line led by Jacob Slavin. And Freddie Anderson's having an unbelievable season. And he was a big reason why the Hurricanes were able to come away with the win. I don't think the Oilers tested him nearly enough, but when they did, he made some incredible saves. Got a little bit lucky at times, like with a goalpost here and there, but I mean, the Oilers there's so much they aren't doing well right now. They aren't generating enough chances. They only had 16 shots on goal at 5-on-5 against Carolina, second lowest mark of the season. They only had 38% of the shots at 5-on-5. They need more energy. They need more consistency on a shift-to-shift basis. They have to take out the dumb penalties in their game. Like, I could go on and on, Caroline. There's so much going wrong right now.
It's so interesting. You bring up offense. Connor McDavid has not scored a goal since December 3rd, which was against the Seattle Kraken. We know he loves to play the Toronto Maple Leafs. How important, we know that not everything can be on Connor McDavid, but when Connor McDavid is playing lights out, naturally, everyone around him is a better player. He has that ability as being the number 1 player in the world to do that for his teammates. It is so important for Connor McDavid to have kind of like a breakout night tonight and to get back on that goal scoring streak that we know he can get to.
Yeah, and we'll get to the lines in just a second. I was talking about this earlier today as well. I don't think long-term wise, you can have McDavid and Draisaitl together. I don't think it's a recipe for success in the playoffs, but right now, under the microscope of a 5-game losing streak, put them together. Who cares? Like, again, down the line, yes, you need to start getting depth scoring and you need players that aren't 97 and 29 to produce. But right now, you're just trying to win tonight. And I think their best chance of winning tonight is with McDavid and Draisaitl together. And their best chance of beating the Leafs is if they have those 2 guys having a big night, like they've done a handful of times this year. Only 8 goals in the last 5 games for this team. I think putting McDavid and Draisaitl together, again, best chance to get 2 or 3 goals from them tonight. And that's what you're probably going to need. So long-term wise, yes, depth scoring and all that. But tonight, I think this team just has to focus in. I think that's what Dave Tippett's doing here. Just end this losing streak. So yeah, they'll probably need a big night from McDavid or Draisaitl.
And that's it for the Oilers. I think it's just a game at a time. At this point, there's no need to worry about what's coming up after the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's just exactly what you said. They need to end this losing streak and get that monkey off their back and move forward from there, because we all know that they can do it. We've seen what they can do at the beginning of the season. It's just a matter of getting out of this slump at this point. Zach Hyman will not be playing tonight against his former team. I'm super bummed to see that, because the conversation in Toronto, who is kind of quote unquote Zach Hyman's replacement, is Michael Bunting. And he's been doing very well for the Leafs. So I was really excited to see, obviously it's like the McDavid Matthews matchup, but I was really excited to see how both Hyman and Bunting would do tonight in the game. However, Hyman won't be playing due to injury. And Duncan Keith, we might be seeing a Duncan Keith tonight. So my question for you is that obviously it's good because we're starting to see our defense return to full strength. However, that doesn't, in my opinion, solve all of the Oilers' underlying concerns and problems. So we can't just solely focus on Duncan Keith and injuries, figuring everything out. However, it is good to start seeing our defense come back to full strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you look at the Oilers' top 4 on the blue line, it's back to full health. You got your top pairing with Nurse and Bouchard, your second pairing with Keith and Ceci. And listen, I didn't love the price they paid to get Duncan Keith. I still go on record quite often and say I don't like that trade. But when you look at the numbers, he's been one of their better puck movers, surprisingly, this season. And the Oilers' problem hasn't really been keeping pucks out of their net. It's been scoring at the other end of the ice. And I think what Duncan Keith will help them do is just get that puck moving in the right direction once again. So it's a welcome addition. Again, he's their fourth best defenseman in their top four. But hey, he's a hell of a lot more effective than William Lagesson, right? So I think the Keith addition here, or return from injury, is a really welcome sight for the Oilers. And just getting back to full health, you're checking one of those boxes of things that have been going wrong. So now you're getting back to full health, start getting some offense going, start getting some better goaltending as well, probably, and you can snap out of this losing skid.
You talk about goaltending. I'm sure Oilers fans and the Oilers themselves would love to see Mike Smith back in between the pipes. Obviously, he's a guy that the team loves to play for obvious reasons. We won't be seeing him tonight. It will be Mikko Koskinen between the pipes. Tyler, he let in a few, I don't even know what to call them, a few shots I wish him sure, a few goals that he wish he could get back, to say it nicely. Yeah. We need a big game from Mikko Koskinen tonight because he's going up against a very hot Austin Matthews right now.
Yeah, Austin Matthews. I mean, you look at that wrister that Koskinen let in against Carolina. I mean, you're not going to get ones that light from players like Austin Matthews or even John Tavares, William Nylander. So Koskinen's been struggling a little bit as of late. That game wasn't good, but I mean, the plus side for the Oilers here, and I'll touch on this a little bit more in the betting report coming up, but like Jack Campbell hasn't been great either for the Maple Leafs. 14 goals against in his last 4 starts. The Leafs in general have actually not been great at keeping the puck out of their net at 5-on-5. They've been outscored 14-9 at 5-on-5 in their last 5 games. So almost 3 goals against per game. This is a chance for the Oilers here. Like, again, you're going to need Koskinen to play well, but I think we might be seeing like a 6-4, 5-3, 5-4, like a high scoring affair tonight. And again, the Leafs struggles at 5-on-5 as of late, just 2-2-1 in their last 5 as well. Campbell may be in a bit of a dip here. This is a chance for the Oilers to break out of this slump. They're going to need Mikko Koskinen to kind of, I'll call it the Mikko Koskinen special. If you're going to allow 3 Mikko, just don't allow the 4th, right? Like a Grant Fuhr-esque performance that they always joke about when he'd give up 5 goals, but hey, he didn't allow the 6th and they win 6-5. I think tonight's going to be kind of like an old school shootout.
I'm so excited for tonight's game. Let's move on to the opposition report presented by Yeg Burger. Obviously, my heart is torn in this matchup as the Toronto Maple Leafs were my childhood team. But now, as I go into my 30s, it's obviously all about the Edmonton Oilers. We know that the Oilers are taking on the Leafs at Rogers Place tonight. The Leafs are 19-8-2 on the season. They're coming off of a 5-4 win against the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday. Obviously, there's a few players who are really buzzing for the Leafs. You mentioned William Nylander, who's been super consistent for the Leafs since last year's playoff run against the Habs. John Tavares, we're seeing moments of vintage John Tavares that we saw with the Islanders here with the Leafs, which is so great to see after he suffered that horrible concussion last year in the playoffs. But man, is Austin Matthews the guy to watch tonight? It was interesting because after missing the first 3 games of the season and recording only 2 points in 6 games, Matthews now in the top 10 in league points, which is he's at 31, and top 3 in league goals at 18. So he's definitely on fire right now. He's a little bit of a run. This is definitely a guy that the Oilers defense has to shut down, of course, alongside a John Tavares and a William Nylander. But man, it's going to be a tough game for both teams, I think, and an exciting one for fans to watch because, like you said, it's going to be a little bit of a track meet, high-scoring game, and I think an exciting game for both Leafs and Oilers fans.
Yeah, Leafs are 7-4-1 on the road, and actually they've dominated this matchup at Rogers Place. Our friend Reed Wilkins sending out a tweet that the Leafs are 8-0-1 all time at Rogers Place, and last season in the bubble they went 4-0-1 as well. You mentioned this Leafs team dangerous offensively, and a big reason why, as of late, has been their power play. 6 for 8 in their last 3 games, Caroline. And then you look at the Oilers on the penalty kill side of things. They've allowed a power play goal in 4 straight games, including 3 against the LA Kings when Connor McDavid took that major. So shutting down Austin Matthews, like you said, he's red hot, 11 goals in his last 10 games. For the Oilers, that's going to be in 2 parts. 1, don't take penalties, and 2, get a bit of better penalty kill as well, because it's really been struggling as of late. And right now, the Leafs, it's almost automatic the way they're running with the man advantage. So shutting down Matthews, I think the Oilers can do it at 5-on-5 to some extent. But if you let the Leafs get a bunch of power plays tonight, it's going to be bad news for Edmonton.
Let's move on to the lines presented by Deuce Vodka. Important to note that Mitch Marner's on long-term IR with a shoulder injury. So luckily and fortunately for the Oilers, they may not have to deal with the magic that Marner sometimes produces on the ice. What else can we expect from the Leafs lines tonight, Tyler?
Yeah, no Marner for the Maple Leafs. So it's going to be Matthews centering Andre Kasha and Michael Bunting on the top line. Kasha, 5 points in his last 5 games, including 3 goals. Tavares, Nylander, and Kerfoot is the second line. 7 points for Nylander in his last 5 as well. David Kampf with Ilya Mikheyev and Pierre Engvall. And the fourth line is Alexander Steeves with Kyle Clifford and Wayne Simmons. The blue line for Toronto, Morgan Rielly with TJ Brody is the top pair. Muzzin with Liljegren is the second pair. And Travis Dermott is expected to be in the lineup playing on the third pairing with Justin Hall. Already mentioned that Campbell is starting in net for Toronto. His struggles as of late, but on the year, still really, really good numbers. So 1.99 goals against average and a 935 save percentage. And quickly, that top power play unit for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's been buzzing. Tavares with Kasha and Matthews, and Nylander and Morgan Rielly runs the point.
Love it. And how about for the good guys, the Edmonton Oilers? Anything change in the lines for them?
Yes, we are going to get some changes in the lines. Like I said off the top, McDavid and Draisaitl is, they're back together on the top line. Zach Kassian will join them on the right side. And Dave Tippett got a lot of heat for this decision. And what I'll say about this is I'm only going to be mad at Dave Tippett if Kassian stays in the top 6 and Hyman's healthy. I think right now there's no denying Zach Kassian does not deserve a spot in the top 6. But then I look around this team and I kind of go, well, who does? Because Kyler Yamamoto certainly doesn't. No shots on goal in his last 5 games. Tyler Benson hasn't done much this year, so you're not going to move him up either. Colton Seavier's not a top 6 winger. So Kassian gets a chance. He's been wildly inconsistent this year. I think he has like 1 goal in his last 18 games, just 4 shots on net in his last 5 games. Kassian needs to get going. He has a great chance to do it. It is worth noting he played on this Draisaitl McDavid line against Arizona earlier this season, and he picked up 3 points in a win. So hopefully the Oilers can get a spark from Kassian on that top line because he needs to bring some energy. The second line is Nuge with Foegele and Puljujarvi. I like moving Puljujarvi off that McDavid and Draisaitl line because I just think it gets him carrying the puck more and it gets him playing his own game. He's not as worried about, just getting the puck to Connor, getting the puck to Draisaitl and going to the net. He gets a little bit more creative. So I like the look of Puljujarvi on the second line. And actually, Caroline, something we're keeping an eye on right now is that Ryan McLeod has been placed in COVID protocol for the Oilers. So he's not going to be centering that third line. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe Devon Shore gets moved to center and the Oilers jumble things up a little bit in the bottom 6. But it sounds like for now, only Ryan McLeod is in the COVID protocol, but that's something we're certainly keeping an eye on. We mentioned the top 4 is back to full health. The third pairing for the Oilers, it sounds like Niemelainen is going to stay in and play with Tyson Barrie.
Such an exciting game, as we mentioned. Can't wait. You guys let us know what you're thinking, obviously, in the Twitter comments. We'll get back to everyone. And right now, Tyler, where would you put your money in? So hold on. The Leafs, every single time I've done points bet for the Leafs, they've been the favorites. So I have a feeling they're the favorites tonight. And which means that the Oilers are underdogs, which also means. Okay, go ahead. Bet of the game presented by PointsBet.
With your dog in the background, I'm surprised he didn't jump in there and start.
He's probably barking at the window somewhere, I guarantee you.
But yes, the Oilers are underdogs in this hockey game, coming in at an even plus 100 on the money line. There's cash coming in now.
He's going like a crazy person.
Plus 100 on the money line. The Leafs are minus 121. They're favorites in pretty much every game they've played this year. Yeah. The Oilers, on the other hand, 5th time this year that they're underdogs. They're actually 3-1 in the previous 4. So Edmonton's done a good job of winning as underdogs this year. They're also plus 140 in regulation. And if you flip the puck line around, they're plus 250, I believe, plus 240 in that range. My bet of the game coming off a loss because Darnell Nurse did not pick up 3 shots on net. Tonight, I'm not going to lie, the over is a really tempting play in this hockey game. The line is set at 6.5, and I think we're going to get a lot of offense, but I like getting a little bit more creative with my bets of the game. So tonight, I'm actually going to a prop that is the over-under for power play goals, and it's set at 1.5. It's paying plus 110. I love the even money here. The Oilers' power play, hasn't been as strong as it was early in the year, but the Leafs' penalty kills outside of the top 10 so far this season. Their power play is red hot. I think each of these teams can chip in on the power play and get that number to over 1.5. That's your bet of the game.
You think Tyson Barrie's going to net one against his former team? I'm sure you'd love to.
Yeah, Tyson Barrie, Cody Ceci also going up against his former team as well. So there's a lot of connections between these two sides here.
It's going to be a good one. All right, Tyler, anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up? And obviously watch the Oilers take on the Leafs tonight at Rogers Place, 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. Is that right?
Yeah, 7 o'clock puck drop tonight between these two sides on Sportsnet West out here in Edmonton, and it should be a good one. Like there's a rivalry between these two fan bases, and it's really come up like because of social media and because of interaction. And Oilers fans are sick of hearing Leafs fans and sick of hearing the media coverage about them, and they're always sick of having their the Rogers Place be full of the blue and white in games like this as well, because everywhere the Leafs go, it's always pretty much like a home game. And Toronto's come in here and dominated recently. So I think for Oilers fans, you want to see them snap out of the losing streak, and you kind of want to shut up Toronto a little bit and all the Leafs fans that are going to the game tonight.
There's one thing that I've learned. So when I first got here, obviously when you're Ontario, you hear the Battle of Alberta and you assume that Flames and Oilers fans hate each other or strongly dislike each other. But when I came here and I asked Oilers fans if they dislike the Leafs or the Flames more, I swear to God, 100% of the answers was that they dislike the Leafs more. And I was so shocked. I'm like, people really don't like Toronto. So, for Oilers fans, I hope that they get their victory tonight. And of course, snap that 5-game losing streak, because that's something this team really needs to do, because you'd hate for this to start becoming routine for the Oilers, because they can't be losing anymore right now.
Yeah, no, like if you lose tonight, it's at 6 games, and all of a sudden, I think jobs are on the line later this week if Edmonton doesn't come away with a victory. You mentioned McDavid and how he seems to get up a little bit more for these games against Toronto. -125 is his over/under to go over 1.5. I'd be really intrigued by that as well. I think McDavid, again, it's been a few slow games, so he's probably due for a big night right away. And against Toronto, there's just that little bit of extra motivation for him to go out there and play well. So I'm expecting a big night from Connor McDavid. I don't know if I'm expecting necessarily an Oilers win, because this Toronto team is, pretty good. 7 wins in their last 10. They're sitting near the top of their division and conference. So it'll be a tough one tonight, but I'm expecting to be like fully entertained. I think there could be some fireworks. This game's on national TV down in the States on ESPN. So, Austin Matthews is going to be fired up as well.
Oh, yeah.
So many storylines coming into this.
And Morgan Riley's been doing really well since his contract extension. The Leafs organization and Leafs fans are so happy with him, but that moment between him and Connor McDavid, where he basically got his ankles broken by Connor, still lives rent-free in his mind, and I'm sure in Connor's mind as well. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you see a two-peat tonight. Who knows?
Never know. You never know. It should be a good one, though, Caroline.
All right, everyone. This has been your Giant pregame show presented by Sherwood Ford. Tyler, Caroline here with you. We'll see you next game day, and